We're speaking with Nicole Engelbert, candidate for Tuckahoe Village Trustee. Nicole, in your career as Vice President for Higher Education Development with the tech giant Oracle, you have a very visible, very leading edge role. Can you describe your work and career accomplishments, and how do you think your tech background could be beneficial in your role as a trustee?
Sure, Peter. I have the honor and the pleasure to spend my professional time working with colleges and universities around the country, really working with their leaders to kind of address some of the biggest challenges facing higher education today, about affordability, about how do we kind of serve more students, about how do we kind of grow and evolve our society and prepare students for work. And then I go back and build the technology that can kind of empower kind of those universities to make progress on those goals. It might be a painful example for many residents out there, but we build the technology that helps you kind of apply for financial aid or pay your tuition bills or even pay those darn parking fees you might get on many campuses. But it is very similar to kind of what Tuckahoe is facing and what Tuckahoe is looking to do with its local government. I mean, we're really grappling with how do we provide better services to residents, and how do we reduce costs with efficiencies because of technology, and how do we help businesses kind of grow faster. It's very clear that our website could use a little bit of an upgrade kind of in the coming years. But more seriously, we need to start thinking about and looking at kind of how can we enable paying taxes online, enabling businesses and residents to apply for permits and many other things. However, and this is where I'm going to almost pause kind of in the tech enthusiasm that we all have, we need to be really thoughtful about the costs. There needs to be a level of kind of fiscal stewardship because we're spending residents' tax dollars to improve these services from a technology perspective. So as a village trustee, I would bring my experience as an IT executive to really rigorously vet any choices we would make to invest in technology to ensure that there would be rapid and long-standing concrete returns for residents and businesses from the investments we've made in technology.
What are the primary goals that you would like to advance and advocate for as a trustee?
Well, before I get into the platform, which Karen and I are really, really excited about what it can bring to the village, I just want to take a moment to kind of comment on accountability. It's really important for residents to expect more from their village administration, from their village trustees, from the services kind of the town. We are in a position where we're elected because we're making a promise to deliver something, to improve the lives of residents in some way. It might be an arts festival on Marbledale. It might be improved flood mitigation efforts. It might be additional community services for kind of families and children, whatever it might be. But if trustees don't deliver real things to the residents, don't improve their quality of life in a real way, then I think it's important to kind of out they go. So Karen and I really want kind of the Village of Tuckahoe to hold us accountable, to expect more from us if we get your vote and we are elected into office. So what do we want you to hold us accountable to? So we have a platform. It has 3 key components, almost kind of legs on a stool, might we say. So the first one is, and one I think that's important to everyone kind of in the village, is kind of growing the economic development kind of our town. And a key component of this, of course, is Marbledale Road. But we're really looking to expand the tax base kind of in Tuckahoe without degrading the quality of life of its residents. The second kind of element is, and this is the key part, the quality of life. How do we improve the quality of life? Now, the current administration in Tuckahoe has done an amazing job. I mean, Kara and team have the creepy crawl on Halloween with hundreds of children and their families walking down Main Street. Well, shoot, that's exactly why so many of us can move to Tuckahoe in the first place. Or, of course, test kits, vaccines, FEMA intervention. I mean, the list goes kind of on and on in terms of the level of service the village provided kind of over the last year to improve the quality of life kind of in Tuckahoe. And so that is something we will build on, and you'll be able to see that. You'll be able to experience that kind of for yourselves as residents. The third is that we absolutely cannot lose sight of investing in public safety and infrastructure. We have a community policing kind of team that is the envy of the county, if not the state. And we need to protect that service with continued investment and proactive thinking so they continue doing what they do best. But we also need to look to the future. The flood this past year was devastating for so many in the town. I mean, the pictures and seeing, I don't think I'll ever forget hearing this horn honking because a truck was stuck on the Bronx River Parkway for hours, and we need to address that. Now, flood mitigation, not something Tuckahoe can do on its own. So we're going to have to work with the county, the state, and the feds to garner resources and expertise. And so we're going to ask that you hold us accountable, that we make good progress on building that flood mitigation plan.
The safety and security of all residents, naturally, that's always has to be the top priority for public officials. So you believe that village residents can have full confidence right now in the services of their police and fire departments?
Well, the easiest question I expect to be asked kind of every day on this campaign is, should we be proud of our police department, our fire department, our DPW? Yes, absolutely. They are absolutely best in class. They make, in so many ways, they make Tuckahoe, and I'd put our team against kind of any village's team in Westchester, if not across the state, both in probably softball teams, but also delivering services to the community. I don't think I will ever forget, or my family will ever forget, on Earth Day this past year, the DPW came and they planted a tree in our front yard. I mean, Tuckahoe is a tree city, so that makes sense. And trees, improve our quality of life, and they also have some really good infrastructure components to it. But beyond the wonderfulness of having this beautiful tree was also that the DPW came on a regular basis and watered the tree. And so it was an investment not in just planning the thing, but also ensuring that it would thrive, that it would survive the winter, and this spring it would bloom and birds would be in it and all that kind of great stuff. And I think that is a good analogy or a parallel to what the village needs to continue doing with its police, fire, and DPW services. It's not just about kind of a one-time investment. It's about continuous support to ensure that they can thrive and flourish. So we don't just plant the seeds with our public services, we invest in them so that they grow and blossom.
Could you talk a little bit about your early years growing up in northern New York State and how that shaped your sense of community?
Absolutely. So I'll admit it right up front, I am an upstate girl, and not just, north of White Plains. I'm like north of Albany, just south of the Adirondack Mountains. So I grew up in a small town called Ballston Lake, and in many regards, it's quite similar to Tuckahoe. Small town, my goodness. I went to the same high school elementary school too, as my parents did, and my grandparents actually worked at the school district as well. My grandfather was a shop teacher. I hope they still have shop teachers because that's super, super important life skills. And my grandma was the crossing guard at the elementary school. So she helped me cross Lake Hill Road over to Stevens Elementary School. A little embarrassing for the fifth grader, but it was all good. Now, Ballston Lake was, while not diverse on some measures, was actually highly diverse from an economic perspective. And that was a function of being upstate, which has some economic challenges, but also it was in commuting distance to Schenectady, where at the time GE had a lot of executives as well as a lot of factories as well. So in our town, we would have both GE executives, but also line workers in the turbine factory, and small business owners, state employees, teachers, the whole 9 yards. But because we had such strong local government, and because we had such kind of a community spirit, it worked, and to the benefit of everyone in the town. You kind of have a much broader view of what are the needs of your neighbors and your people, and what a community could be. And even today, Ballston Lake is actually a thriving community, and they've come together to support the beautiful lake. They passed sewers in the past year. I think it's maybe 18 months at this point, which was absolutely amazing. My grandfather, God rest his soul, is smiling in his grave. They've protected outdoor spaces, and they even continue to have kind of state champion athletic teams. Go Spartans! But I hope to bring that spirit of celebrating our community and serving kind of the needs of everyone. That it's an entirety, kind of not pieces, but the whole.
Tuckahoe is a small village geographically, but it has a very rich history nonetheless. What's being done to preserve that history, and how do you think Tuckahoe's past enhances its present-day quality of life?
Absolutely. Tuckahoe has a rich and proud history. My goodness, our history of marble is, something we talk about in our schools, but something, when you're in, different kind of state buildings, you're like, oh, that marble is from my kind of hometown, which is wonderful. But there's more to it than that. There's a quality of life issue that our history brings to bear. So I live very close to the Church of the Assumption. On a good day, my husband, if he played really well, could probably hit a golf ball with his driver from our house to the Church of the Assumption. That will never happen because that's very dangerous. You should not be hitting golf balls kind of in your backyard. Leave that to Lake Isle. Leave that to Leawood. But it's that close. And so I hear the bells of Assumption Church on a regular basis. And I can't tell you the kind of peace it brings me to hear them. I mean, first, they're beautiful, but it is a reminder of the larger community that I live in, the larger purpose kind of that I'm part of. So it's critically important that we protect those types of things because they add so much. But historic preservation must be balanced with practical economic realities and the wants and needs or preferences of the residents. And that's why I was so excited, so proud that the current administration passed the Village of Tuckahoe Historic Preservation Law and put together a bipartisan task force to shepherd the execution of it. Because I think they're going to bring that balance to life and both protect our history, but also improve the quality of life and ensure economic sustainability as well.
Nicole Engelbert, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.